So hello friends, welcome to my YouTube channel. As you guys must be aware that we are into a lecture series on Indian Evidence Act. Currently we are discussing chapter 2 of Indian Evidence Act, which deals with the relevancy of fact. Our today's topic is confession. So confession is given under section 24 to section 30. We will discuss the meaning and definition of confession, and then we will see each section from section 24 to section 30. All the relevant information related to for the examination purpose would be given in this video. So stay tuned and let's start the video. So when we talk about confession, when a person accepts his liability or any charges against him before the magistrate, before the judge or any third party in day-to-day life, then it is said to be confession. So confession is not defined under Indian Evidence Act. It comes under the head of admission. So every definition, the definition of admission is applicable on confession. So let us discuss what is admission. An admission is a statement in oral or documentary or contained in electronic form which suggests any inference as to fact in issue or relevant fact, and which is made by any of the persons and under the circumstances hereinafter mentioned. So admission is a statement. So we can clearly infer from this that the confession is also a statement made in oral or documentary form, and it must suggest any inference as to fact in issue or relevant fact. So any statement made related to confession must suggest any conclusion as to fact in issue or relevant fact, and must be made by the person given in under the act and under the circumstances. The circumstances are given under section 24 to 30, in which a statement would be called confession. So we will discuss all the sections. Acceptance of liability in civil suit will be called admission, and acceptance of liability in criminal suit is called as confession. So when a person accepts his liability in a civil suit, he is said to be admitting some fact, he is said to be making an admission, and when a person accepts his liability in a criminal suit, it is said to be a confession. So some statement may not be confession but still be an admission. So as you guys must be aware that admission is a big part, is a big group, and confession is a small part of it, is a part of the big group of admission. So any admission, a statement made as a confession may not qualify as a confession but still qualify as an admission. For an example, a person tells a custom officer that he did not know that the goods loaded were illegal goods. So here his statement would not lead to confession, but it may be called as admission of the fact that the goods loaded were illegal. So here the person was not known that the goods loaded were illegal at the time of loading, but now he is accepting that the goods were illegal. So he is making an admission. In Sadapullah Reddy versus State of Andhra Pradesh, the accused stated that he was aware of conspiracy to commit murder but did not participate in the conspiracy. The statement was not held to be confession, because here the person is not participating in the crime, he is not part of the crime. So he is making just an admission that he knew about the crime. Let's move on to the next slide. So now let us discuss section 24. Section 24 deals with the confession caused by threat, inducement or promise. Confession given due to threat, inducement or promise by a person in authority are irrelevant. So when a person in authority gives some threat, inducement or promise, and any statement is given due to the inducement, threat or promise of that particular authority, then that confession would be irrelevant. Any confession made due to the threat, inducement or promise would be irrelevant if it is made if the threat, inducement or promise is made by the authority. So in order to a confession to qualify as irrelevant confession under section 24, following essentials would be relevant. First, the confession must be result of inducement, threat or promise. So confession must be made out of inducement, threat or promise, and such threat, promise or inducement must be made by the person in authority. So it must be made by the police officer or any person in authority due to the fear or advantage the person has given the statement. And the statement, it should relate to charge in question. The statement must be related to the charge in question, the charge on to which the person is alleged, and it should hold out some worldly benefit and disadvantages for accused person. So it must hold some statement must be given due to the benefit or disadvantages that was offered by the authority to the accused person. Now let us discuss the confession to police officer, which is given under section 25. So no confession made to a police officer shall be proved against a person accused of an offence. So when a person is accused of an offence, if he makes any confession to a police officer, it would not be relevant, it would not be a valid confession. The reason being that if the confession to a police officer were allowed, then the police would torture the accused and thus force him to confess a crime which he might not have committed. Such confession would be irrelevant and unreliable. So if the confession would have been allowed to the police, then police would not do investigation and rather pressurize the accused to give the statement to confess the crime. So here the police would not act freely and act in improper way. So here confession to a police officer is irrelevant. That's why it is irrelevant, that the police would not do its work properly. The police should carry out full-fledged investigation and not hope or pressurize a accused to confess. So the police must do a full-fledged investigation and not hope for the accused to confess his crime. A confession made to a third person in mere presence of policeman is relevant confession, but if the third person to whom the confession is made is secret agent of the police, then such confession wouldn't be relevant. Emperor versus Hari Pyari. This was held in the Emperor versus Hari Pyari. So here if a person makes a statement to a third person, then it would be relevant if the police was present there, but such statement, such conversation must not be influenced by police. Such person to whom he is making the statement must not be the secret agent of the police. A statement made to police officer is not a valid confession but may be an admission. So any statement made to a police officer would not be a confession, but it may be relevant under the admission under section 17. Now let us discuss section 26. Confession of accused while in the custody of the police. So this section deals with the confession made to the police or made to any person in the police custody. So no confession made while a person is in police custody would be proved until it is made before the immediate presence of the magistrate. So when a confession is made to the police in the immediate presence of the magistrate, then only it would be relevant. If it is made to the police or any other person in the police custody, then it would not be relevant if the magistrate is not present right there. No confession to third party while the accused is in the police custody would be relevant. No confession to the third person would be relevant if the person is in police custody. Police custody means the police control, even if it be exercised in a home, open place or the course of journey and not necessarily within the four walls of the prison. So police custody means any place where the control of police is exercised. It does not necessarily mean the prison, the four wall of the prison. It may be on the road or on the way or on the home, in the home of someone where the control of police is exercised. If confession is made before the magistrate, then it would be relevant as his presence will make the confession free of any pressure or torture and reliable. This was held in Sarkar Marudi versus State of West Bengal. So why the confession made in front of the magistrate is relevant? Because when the magistrate is present, then such conversation becomes free of any threat, promise or inducement. So the police cannot pressurize or torture that person. So in that condition, the person is making his statement freely. So that statement becomes relevant. So immediate presence means the presence in the same room and not adjoining room. So the magistrate must be present in the same room. Now let us discuss section 27. It states that how much information received from the accused must be proved. So how much information received from the accused must be proved, provided that when any fact is deposed to as discovered in consequence of any information received from a person accused of any offence in the custody of the police officer, so much of such information, whether it amounts to a confession or not, as relates distinctly to the fact thereby discovered may be proved. So here when the police officer discovers some fact related to the case from the confession made by the person, then that much of fact, that much of a statement which led to the discovery of new fact would be relevant. So such a statement must relate directly or strictly to the fact discovered. When a statement leads to discovery of a fact related to a crime, then that much of the statement is relevant and not the whole statement. That part of the statement which led to discovery of fact would be relevant. Fact discovered must be relevant to the fact of the case. Such discovery include discovery of object or from place where it is produced and knowledge of accused of such existence. So fact discovered must be relevant to the fact in the fact of the case. So it must be related to fact in issue or relevant fact. Where the accused disclosed that I have kept the firearm behind the old house under the heap of the wood, the same was recovered from the place. The court held that the fact discovered was not the gun but the fact that the accused has concealed it at a particular place. So here the accused has kept the gun at a particular place. So here the fact discovered was not the gun but the fact that it was concealed by the accused. Now let us discuss section 28, 29 and section 30. So section 28 state confession made after the removal of impression caused by inducement, threat or promise given under section 24 are relevant. The mind becomes free of any probable danger or advantage. So when the inducement, threat or promise is removed from section 24, so when inducement, threat or promise is removed, its effect is removed by the court or due to the time, then any statement made freely after the removal of the threat, promise or inducement would be a valid confession. Now section 29 deal with the confession otherwise relevant not to become irrelevant because of promise of secrecy. So when a confession is made to a third person, so it does not become irrelevant if that is made on the bet that the third person would not disclose it to someone else. So there is a promise of secrecy. When there is a promise of secrecy on making a statement or the statement is made in consequence of the deception practiced on accused person for the purpose of obtaining it. So if the accused person was tricked, was fooled to get that conversation, to get that statement, or when he was drunk, when he made the statement when he was in a state of drunk, or because it was made in the answer to the question which he need not have answered, so he need not have answered that question, then in these all condition does not make the statement irrelevant, confession irrelevant, the confession would be relevant still. Under section 30, consideration of proved confession affecting person making it and other jointly under the trial of the same offence. So if a person is trialed of an offence and he makes a statement, makes a confession in which the other his co-accused are also covered, are also becoming incriminating, are also getting charged, then that would be relevant against other accused also. So thank you guys. I know the video was in speed because I had less time. I had to complete it in the less time. So thank you so much.